Hi, this is Simon Obstell and welcome to this third part of this tutorial for Apple Motion, in which we are looking at building our own green screen keyer. And today we're going to be taking a look at refining the key, and this is going to involve some really interesting and useful techniques. So let's get going. So this is where we left it last time. In part 1 we'd created a basic mat to create our key, and in part 2 we'd created a basic D-spill, but it still left us with quite a few problems. Now I want you to look down here, for example, at the sleeve here. Because of the D-spill process, we've now got this rather unattractive looking dark edge, and we need to do something about sorting that out. Now, fortunately, there's a quite easy option here because of the way that we've built our original mat. So I'm going to come into the original mat, open it up. You remember we made a group for red and blue, but we didn't actually use the blue. So what I'm going to do is actually turn the blue on, and I'm going to set the blend mode, as before with the spill map, to darken. If I turn that on and off and you look at that edge, you can see how that's cleaned up the edge. And you'll probably also notice if I zoom out a bit, it's taken care of pretty much all of the tracking marks. So that is really useful. Now I just want to dial this back because I don't want to overdo it really. We just want enough to take care of that edge. So somewhere around 50-55% maybe is probably about right for this. Really just play with that till you get what you feel is good. Now, the other problem about having done that, though, is that we are starting to eat away at the hair. You can probably see if I zoom in, it's starting to look a little bit too chopped off. We're losing some of that fine detail. So, again, that's not a problem because of how we've set all this up. So the problem is very easily solved by simply adding to this blue layer a circular mask to mask away the hair area. So I'm going to grab the circular mask, I'm going to draw a mask like that, and then we need to invert it. So now if I turn that mask on and off, actually let's zoom in a bit more, you can see that we've kept all the advantages of adding in that blue channel, but we've preserved some of that hair detail by excluding that blue channel from our mat operation. So this is really why building your own mat is a really good way to go, because you can't really do this with most keyers other than the supremely excellent Hawaii keyer, which I really do have to plug in this tutorial because it has all of these kind of features built in, which pretty much no other keyer actually does. And it actually has two keyers in one, which simply no other keyer does. So anyway, enough of a plug for Hawaii keyer. That is our mask there. And because our shot is moving, I'm actually just going to keyframe the position and the scale. And let's just look at the mask. Let's come to the last frame, and we just need to scale it up just a little bit more like this. Move it over like that, probably enough to exclude that tracking mark there. Maybe just scale it back down a bit so we lose that one at the top there, because obviously we're reintroducing the tracking marks that we'd successfully suppressed with our blue channel. So something like that. I'm not going to get carried away. We should probably just go through and do a more precise mask for that. But anyway, that's starting to look a lot better, much nicer without those tracking marks. But we've still got some issues. We've got this flag here. We want to get rid of that flag. So there's a very easy way we can do that. So in this group here, the matte group above the red and blue, I'm going to grab my Bezier tool, just turn on F7 for the HUD. We want a white fill and no outline. And I'm just going to draw around the flag. So draw around like that. I'm actually going to draw down to here just to take care of any other stray material that might have crept in, and then just close it on up like that. And stupidly I've put that inside that red and blue group. Just need to move it out above, and there you go. You see we've taken care of that whole side of the frame there. Again, because we've got a moving shot, we need to go through and just keyframe that to make sure that it, well, actually we don't need to keyframe it. That looks pretty good like that. Let's just have a look. There you go. Yeah, I mean, just coincidentally, that actually clears her completely and is taking care of any issues on the right-hand side of the frame. So just to explain that, of course, this is under a negative filter. So although we've chosen white in the resulting matte, if we turn that on, that is actually black. So I turn that on and off. We're introducing black into that area there because the white turns black with the negative filter. And of course, black gives us transparency. So the other issue, a small one, is we've got an edge there on the left-hand side. You can probably see, because our foreground plate isn't quite as large as our background, we're seeing the edge of it there. And again, there's a very easy thing that we can do inside this matte group. So I'm going to come over to the library and I'm going to grab a color solid. I'm going to drop it in and I'm going to move it to the back. Object, send to back. And we need to make it white. So if I turn that on and off, you can see that that's taking care of that line there. So basically, we're putting black behind everything because, again, that white is turning black because of the negative filter that we've got up here. So anyway, we've taken care of quite a lot of issues there, and it's starting to look quite a bit better. The other thing I want to point out is that we can, if we wanted to, and I don't think we necessarily need to in this case, is we can add, at the top level of this matte, we can add another color levels. And this is something one will quite often do, is to process the final matte after the inversion. So what we can do with this levels is finesse the edge of the matte. So if you look at the hair, for example, and if I adjust that white level, you can see we can push the edge outwards like that and make it more solid. We don't actually want to do that in this case, but I'm just showing you that this is what you can actually do. Conversely, if we grab the black, you can shrink the edge inwards like that. So this is something that you'll very often be doing in visual effects, is post-processing the matte using a technique like this. In this case, I don't think there's particularly any mileage in doing it, but I just wanted to show you that anyway. So the final thing that I want to do in this part is to take care of the edges here, the colour that we've got on her hair, effectively the spill colour that we're getting on her, that is still not really satisfactory now that we've dispilled it, because we want to actually put her into this environment, which is obviously very cool, and she is very, very warm. So we can actually do that in a very interesting way. So we can take our despilled foreground here, and we can make a clone of it. So right click, make clone layer. And what we'll need to do is we'll need to make another mask for it. And I'm going to copy this spill map to do that. So I'm going to right click, duplicate. Let's drag this out just up to here, just above our clone. So again, we're not going to look at it. We're just going to turn that off. We're going to come to our clone. We're going to right click and add image mask. And we're going to drop that spill map in there and just switch to luminance. So now what we do with this clone is going to be masked by this new spill map. But let's call this spill map new or something. So I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to come down into the red-blue group and turn off the blue, because I don't think the blue is going to help us in this case. So close that back up again. That's why I've made a copy rather than the original. So then what we can do is we can take this clone layer and we can add to it a color curves. So just very roughly to get us started, I'm going to crank up the blue a little bit, crank up the luma like this, and you can start to see the effect that's having on those edges there. Brightening up those edges definitely helps put her in that environment. And if we increase that blue even more, if you look what's happening down here on her coat, so we're replacing what was originally green spill with some nice blue spill from our environment. So let's just turn that on and off. So that's where we were, and that's where we now are. And I think that's actually looking much better. That spill on her coat is actually starting to be really quite convincing, because as I say, we've replaced that green spill with a blue spill that reflects our environment. So we could actually, if we wanted, come into that image mask and color and levels. And I'm not sure that this is necessary, but I want to point out that we can do that, is we can process that spill map. You can see, obviously, if I drag down the white, we're really exaggerating that effect. I'm not sure we need to go that far. Probably just the defaults is okay, but really up to you. And we can adjust the black level just to tighten it in a little bit like that if we wanted to. So I think that is a much better result. So if I turn off this, that's where we were, that's where we now are. So there you go, that's the end of part 3. The reason I wanted to show you all these tricks is that having set up this custom keying routine, There's a lot we can do by diving into the individual layers and tweaking things. And this is very much the way that visual effects artists work. They don't just grab a keyer and hope for the best. They go in and make all these very, very fine adjustments and do partial keys on different aspects of the shot. So, hope that's been useful. There will be another part, at least, in which we will look at things like light wrap and so on. So, hope you can join me for that. Thanks for watching. See you soon.